Hello and welcome everybody to the online book club that I host. My name is Gustavo Tolosa, and I was thinking a few minutes ago that we started this book club. Well, I started it and you joined me very faithfully 10 months ago. I started at the end or about the end of March of last year. And no, end of April of 2020. So it's been 10 months. And it has been 10 months that have been wonderful, because during those dark days of the beginning of the pandemic and all the restrictions, it was this book club every Saturday was something that I was looking forward every week. And I still do, because you all who follow me here have become almost like a family. And I want to once more thank you for joining me, whether it's live or watching this session later on. This book club, in which we are reading Own Your Health, together with all the other books that we have read, and the cooking demos, and the music that I've played for you, and the guests, all of that is available and will be available in YouTube forever, or for a long time, and in my channel, which is Gustavo Tolosa. So if you'd like to go back and watch some of those are in a playlist that I called book club or online book club. So today we are arriving at the end. So next Saturday will be our last session, and we will end with a bang, because we have a very special friend, colleague, and guest for me, Chef AJ, with whom I have done so many videos, and I have spent so much time in her home in Los Angeles before she moved last year. And I have so many wonderful memories with her and Charles. And all those videos that I've done with her are also in my channel. And she will be our guest of honor next Saturday, because we will be covering the chapter that has all the recipes. And so we will see what, you never get bored around AJ. Who knows what she will bring to us here. But that chapter starts on page 124, and it's called A Word from Chef AJ. And then there are recipes, and she will probably talk about them, maybe make 1-2 of them. I don't know. It'll be a surprise. So make sure that you join me next Saturday, and make sure that you pass on the link to your friends and families, because it will be entertaining and inspiring and informational. So, and that's going to be our last Saturday. And I guess I have a bittersweet news. Sort of sad news is that the month of March I will take off, and then we will restart in April with another book that I think you will really enjoy. I think it's a book that talks about I was going to say the real pandemic, but not to mean that this is not real what we're going through, but something that is really big in numbers. I think it kills more people, I think, than the current pandemic. And so we're going to start with that book in April, and make sure you check your emails because I will be announcing what book it will be. So in March, we will not have the book club now, but I have to say now for the happy news, you will still see me if you want to see me. And in March, I have some exciting events coming up. One of them is going to be my second online concert, which you are all invited to join me from the comfort of your living room to my living room here. And it's going to be a very special concert. And I mean it, very special, because I have chosen, together with my colleague, the violinist, Leonardo, we have chosen some really, really good and amazing Latin American music, actually, well, composers from Argentina. And it's going to be just delightful for the music. We will talk about the music. It will be fun as well. It'll be a light-hearted kind of concert. And you will be invited. I will send you an email. And so that's going to take me most of the time to get ready for that. Another thing that I'm going to do, which I've been wanting to do for a long time, is what I eat in a day. So that's going to be a free video that I will make, and I'll show you as I go through the day what I make, what I eat, etc. And so I think that you will enjoy that. And I will also be working with Glenn, the author of the book, on a very unique project, but I can't say much. It will involve videos that you will be able to watch. I will also be doing often Facebook Lives, which I have been doing. Maybe you saw the one I did this morning, and the one I did yesterday, and the day before yesterday, where I make a quick recipe, and today I made up a recipe on the spot. If you didn't see it live, it will be in my YouTube channel tomorrow. If you haven't liked my Facebook page, it's under Dr. Starch, and please follow me there. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe, because then you will get a notice when I upload a new video. So the Facebook Lives will also be fun to watch. And then I will also do one more session that everybody really enjoyed, where I email you a list of ingredients, and you will have the ingredients, and then we will cook together. That is, if you want. You could just watch, just sit down and watch. But if you want to, so I've done 2 or 3 of those, and it's called Cooking Live with Gustavo, and it is fun. We cook in real time, and we cook together, and then we taste it. And while you're eating it, I play the piano for you, give you a little concert. So as you can see, March is going to be a very busy month for me. That's why I'm taking it off from the book club. But then when April comes back, we will be back with the book club. All right. So if you want to stay connected with me, again, like my Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I also have an Instagram and a Twitter account. You can also go to my website, plantemes.com, and make sure that you're subscribed to my email list. And that's all the announcements I want to say today. And I'm sorry it was a little long, but I don't want to take a lot of time from Chef AJ next week. And today we are going to be talking about chapter 8. And please, feel free to write comments here. I am reading them, and or questions. I think I have found my favorite chapter, Glenn. I know you're watching. And I mean, it's very difficult to choose. You have done a superb job writing this. And I didn't know, I hadn't read a book by you before, so I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't have any preconceptions or anything, but I didn't know. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you this, but you are just an amazing writer, and every chapter is just grabs your attention. And for me, who love everything that has to do with practical applications of theory, I enjoy. So to me, and when I teach at the university, and I teach about piano, of course, and I teach music theory, I'm always, or music history or whatever, I'm always finding ways for the students to apply it to be practical, so that it's not something that is read and forgotten and memorized. And so for me, this chapter 8, was or is the most practical, I think. Not that I don't like research. I have a doctorate and I'm very used to research, and I love to know the facts and everything. But I think that most people want to know, how do I do this? And what do I do, and how do I do it? So Glenn has done a marvelous job that I have not seen in any other books, really. And I'm afraid I'm not going to have time to go through the whole chapter, although I thought that this chapter would be a good chapter to just read all of it, because I just could not take out anything. I think every sentence and every word that he wrote here is just crucial, and it's important. So let's get started. I am on page 96, that is chapter 8. He says, whether your primary objective is weight loss on one hand, or health and longevity, both of which, of course, are related to weight, on the other hand, the rules remain basically the same. Yeah, the rules are the same. So it says, let's start by repeating the fundamentals. And so this will be the second paragraph here, something you would want to highlight, because this is the fundamentals. The natural human diet consists of whole plant foods. That's it. Okay, I think that summarizes the whole book. The human diet consists of whole plant foods. We classify these as fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, which are often lumped together with vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices. So in order to feel full, when we eat, we need to get the bulk of our calories from the category of foods that are sometimes described as complex carbohydrates, and sometimes they're called starches. And I prefer starches, because when you throw out there the word carbohydrates, people go into panic, because the industry and everything, the media, has demonized that word. So I prefer starches. What are starches? Potatoes, sweet potatoes, those are at the top of the list. Beans, corn, rice, and other whole grains like millet, barley, rye, buckwheat, and oats. You would struggle to get enough calories if you tried to live off just non-starchy vegetables like salad and broccoli and kale and lettuce. Not that those are not good, but when you give up meat, flesh foods that are filling, you should naturally gravitate to healthy starches, so that feeling of fullness, you still have it, and you don't feel starving. It's like someone that doesn't have enough air, and it's a desperate situation when you cannot breathe, and it's desperate when you're hungry and you want to eat and you can't because of another diet that you're following, which you're counting calories or measuring portions or whatever. So a diet like Dr. McDougall also says, a diet that is based on non-starchy vegetables is doomed. It's just, you would have to eat so many pounds of food a day that, first of all, unless you were wealthy, you would go broke to buy pounds and pounds of food a day to feel satisfied. And second of all, the amount of food that you would have to eat to come up to even 1,500 calories, it would be ridiculous. So, and besides that, you would be lacking in some essential nutrients. So that's why you need to have, like it says here, potatoes, an ideal starchy vegetable, are not fattening. The myth that potatoes are fattening is a myth. There are about 163 calories in a medium potato. There's actually less than 1 calorie per gram of potato. So don't be fooled when people make the mistake of calling potatoes carbohydrates. Potatoes are whole foods that contain, besides carbohydrates, they contain protein and a smidget of fat. Consider that there are 4 calories in a gram of carbohydrates. So how can there be less than 1 calorie in a gram of potato? Answer, most of the weight of a potato is calorie-free fiber and water. Okay. Most people, and then it says, there are more varieties of potatoes than you can count, and they are all healthy, non-fattening forms of fuel. The only thing that can make a potato fattening is the butter or the sour cream or other fatty toppings that people are accustomed to put on the potato and spoil it. Most people need to eat about 4 pounds of food per day to feel satisfied. And these are real scientific studies that they have made. Most, we're generalizing in an average. The average is that most of us on a daily basis, if you were weighing everything that you eat a day, you would come up to about 4 pounds of food. That's just a fact. So if you ate 4 pounds of potatoes per day without putting any topping on them, you would be taking in about 1,600 calories per day. For virtually everyone, a 1,600 calorie per day diet would be a very successful weight loss diet. Now, you can imagine eating 4 pounds of potatoes a day. It's you might struggle to get all that food down, and you would still be way under the calorie count that you would, that you are supposed to get, so you would lose considerable weight. If you ate 4 pounds of celery, on the other hand, per day, okay, you would be taking 300 calories per day, and the weight loss would be much greater, although your mood would likely be foul. You would be in a very bad mood if you ate 4 pounds of celery per day. If you ate instead 4 pounds of nuts per day, you would be in a 12,000 calorie per day diet, and you would pack on the pounds. Can you imagine 12,000 calories per day? So you can see right there the concept of calorie density. 4 pounds of potato, 1,600 calories. 4 pounds of celery, 300 calories. 4 pounds of nuts and seeds, 1,200 calories. So if you had to choose a food item around which to base a 4 pound of food a day monotrophic diet, one in which you eat only one type of food, the potato would be as good a choice as any, since you would get plenty of calories and you would feel full as you lost weight. And here he mentions Andrew Taylor, who I had the chance to interview him 2 times, and that is in my YouTube channel as well. And for a year, Andrew lives in Australia. For a year, he ate only potatoes, and he was under the supervision of 2 doctors, potatoes. And he lost, he went from 334 pounds to 220 in a year, so over 100 pounds. And he says that he was never hungry, and he was very satisfied because there are so many kinds of potatoes, and there are so many ways to eat potatoes. There's no reason, of course, that anyone has to go on a diet like this in which you choose one food to eat. But once you understand roughly how many calories are in a pound of different types of food, you understand the key to weight loss. And of course, maybe AJ will touch on this topic because she is really a master of at explaining the concept of calorie density. So on page 98, it says, I choose to eat some foods on the more caloric right side of the red line. AJ draws a red line like this on a piece of paper. And on this side, she puts the foods that are the ones that are going to promote health and weight loss. And on this side, some of the right-hand side of the red line, foods that you should either eat in very small amounts or totally take out, like dairy and meat. But there are other things on this side of the red line, like avocados, let's say, or nuts and seeds, or olives. Those things are not unhealthy, but they pack the calories. So, someone like Glen, who is at a healthy weight and maybe doesn't gain weight as easily as other people, could eat them. I have to be careful because I have a tendency to gain weight fast. So whether or not you choose to occasionally stray, as I do, Glenn says, to the more calorically dense side of the red line by eating nuts, seeds, avocados, olives, and bread, what is crucial to good health is abstention from the most salient causes of inflammation and disease: animal products, oil, and sugar. And there's another key word. There's another key word for all of us, that the word inflammation should scare us, because inflammation is how disease starts and continues and gets worse. And so inflammation is produced by oil, by sugar, and by all animal products. So for many of you, the prospect of going vegan may be daunting, he says on page 99. The social pressure alone that militates against healthy eating should not be underestimated, and I don't dismiss it lightly, although I, for one, never let it affect me. And that's where the differences in personalities come in. Some people get really, it affects them a lot when friends or family kind of even bullies them, or when they have to go, or even if they don't, even if they have to go out to eat, and and they see other people around them, eat all this calorically dense food, and you're the one who is making the healthy choices. But I understand that for most people who have been eating a standard American diet, it may seem unthinkable to give up animal products. It may be hard to imagine a life without real burgers, Thanksgiving turkey shared with family, or pepperoni pizza shared with friends or coworkers. It may be harder still to imagine eating differently from family members in your own home who show no interest in joining you on your journey to health. Well, if you care about your health and the environment, you need to not only imagine it, but do it. That's a very true statement. With the planet melting and animal agriculture the single leading cause of climate change, and with a pandemic brought on by animal foods, the time has come for all of us to eat. The time has come for all of us to eat what we call human food. What we just said: the starches, the potatoes, the legumes, all that. If your friends at a July 4th barbecue give you a grilling for not wanting a steak, so be it. Take it good naturedly. Bring on oil-free potato salad and grill some corn. If your relatives act concerned that you're not having any turkey at Thanksgiving, tell them, and I think this is very funny, very well done, very well written here, tell them that the holiday is actually about gratitude. And you're grateful to live in a world with an abundance of healthy and delicious plant foods, so that you don't need to eat a turkey bred to a grotesque size, debeaked and fattened in a horribly crowded shed where it likely spent its short, miserable life breathing pathogens and ammonia before being slaughtered. So that ought to shut them up. Well said, Glenn. So you bring your own vegan dishes, and I've been doing this now for a while, and I've never had really trouble when I have to go, when someone has invited me. I just very like no big deal. I say, oh, okay, I'm just gonna bring something to share. Because I don't. I eat a little bit different. I make it no big deal, and usually there's no big deal. And I make enough so that I can share it. And a lot of times people really like what I make, so they end up eating that. And at the same time, I have food that I can eat. In the worst case, eat before you go, which I have also done a lot. Before I go to the restaurant, or before I go to a party, eat before you go. Okay, so on page 100, it says, the hard part is avoiding oil. Yes, I agree with Glenn here. And it's true. The hard part is avoiding oil in restaurants. I can see some of you writing here. Someone says, I bring my own food to my family gatherings when we could, of course. The difference between potatoes and sweet potatoes is not much. Actually, sweet potatoes come in at a slightly even better position, because sweet potatoes have even less calories, and they have even a little bit more nutrients, and the glycemic index is a little lower, although don't get fooled with the glycemic index. It can be used in a very misleading way. So watch one of the webinars that I've done with Dr. McDougall, where he explains glycemic index and how you really have to know what it means, because a potato may have a higher glycemic index than a piece of pepperoni pizza. Okay, it actually is it goes something like that. So if you went by that, you would be eating pepperoni and cheese pizza and avoiding pure, plain, whole food, potato. So you have to know exactly how to treat these numbers. Okay, The hard part is avoiding oil. Restaurants cook with it, as do most people at home. We have been brainwashed into thinking that that is the natural liquid in which to cook food. And because it's cheap and tastes good to folks accustomed to a fatty diet, it gets added to all manner of processed foods. In grocery stores, it's hard to find, for example, a pasta sauce made without olive oil. So yeah, that's true. I make my pasta sauce every time because it's impossible. I mean, it's really impossible. And so you get frustrated, and then sometimes you say, oh, well, okay, what is a little bit of oil? Okay, no, it doesn't take much to make a pasta, an oil-free pasta sauce. Actually, I just made one, and it's amazing. And I'm going to show you in a video. But just make it. It's fine. Sometimes if you go out, you're going to get oil in something. Okay, so if you're okay with it, but just I always remember AJ one time when we went out and we ordered, I can't remember if it was a wrap or I don't know, something, and it wasn't supposed to have oil, and this guy put oil, and she was like, ah! She was terrified. And she of course didn't eat it, and she told me, I don't know, but I see oil and I see death. And I thought that stayed in my brain. I mean, she, you see a skeleton. She sees oil and she sees, death. So, but if you're okay, every now and then. But if I go to a restaurant, I always have to order my boring salad. I mean, no matter how many times, how many types of salad, when you're always ordering salad, it gets old. And I take my oil-free dressing with me, or I put lemon juice or vinegar, but it really is not fun. Pasta is impossible. It's just give it up, okay? Pasta in a restaurant is impossible unless you ask for it with no sauce, and you're going to be eating dry pasta, because sauces in restaurant have oil, period. And some of them have a lot of oil. So it's hard, and it's not easy to find food without oil. On page 100, it says something very important, which I really didn't know. So I appreciate you, Glenn, for mentioning this. Very, very important. All oils are inherently processed foods, of course, that we all know, and 100% fat. It's, no matter what oil it is, it's not a health food. Although oil does not contain cholesterol, it will, if you consume it, induce your liver to produce more cholesterol. Wow. So that oil doesn't have cholesterol, but if you eat it, it makes your liver produce cholesterol. And so a fatty vegan diet of fried and oily foods, even though it contains zero cholesterol, can result in high serum cholesterol and heart disease. And aside here, to the many people I've met who have joined the vegan cause as an expression of their concern for animal rights or their environment, but who care not at all about consuming oil or vegan junk food, and are often themselves overweight or obese or diabetic as a result. My friends, if you care so much about animals and the environment, then you should want all people to go vegan. And others will be much more likely to adopt a vegan diet if they see that you are fit and healthy. So that's a very good point also. Commit to your own health so that you will have a longer, more energetic life in which to advocate for animals and the environment. So in page 101, the third paragraph, it says, again, zero oil is the goal. Even a small quantity of oil represents a small injury to the endothelial cells lining your blood vessels that keep them open and elastic. This, if you want to listen to Dr. Esselstyn's lecture when he explains in detail this, how oil will injure this very thin and delicate lining of the blood vessels that keep them open and elastic. That's the lecture you want to read. And then he says, Joanna and I never cook with oil at home. We try to avoid it in restaurants, but that's very difficult to do. Mostly, though, we don't buy packaged foods. We buy produce and whole grains and create our meals without the need to open many jars and boxes. The least jars and the least boxes and bags that you have to open, the better. When you saute vegetables, you have many better choices than oil. You can saute in water, in vegetable broth, in soy sauce, in aquafaba, which is the liquid of that comes in a can, or if you're cooking them, like for example in chickpeas, that's water you can use, and there are other oil-free vegan sauces. Okay, he also mentions wine, which some people are okay with it, but if you have an addiction, of course you don't want to do that. And of course you can steam or roast your vegetables, which both of those things I enjoy and I do. At the end of page 101, it says, first, you need to read the list of ingredients, which are listed in descending order by weight. Learning how to read ingredient labels is crucial, and that was part of the training that was so incredibly helpful and practical when I attended the Living program at the McDougall program. And it was a whole class of teaching you how to read labels, and then going to a supermarket and being guided and how to read them. So the ingredients are listed by order of weight. I don't know if you knew that. So think of a long list of ingredients as a warning sign that a product is overly processed and not worth your consideration. Steer clear of margarine and oil. Steer clear of artificial colorings and preservatives. Steer clear of isolated soy proteins, wheat gluten, and other forms of isolated proteins. Train yourself to focus on what matters most, the grams of saturated fat and sugar per serving. Those two things are the things you really want to watch out for. Yes, sodium too, salt. But saturated fat is definitely at the top of the list. Saturated fat and sugar are the deadly sins of the American diet, along with cholesterol, of course. But as long as you limit yourself to vegan foods, the cholesterol count will always be 0. Ideally, you want to purchase only items free of oil and sugar or other sweeteners. But just as it can be hard to find a tomato sauce that is oil-free, it can be hard to find a cold cereal, for example, that's free of sweeteners. So on page 103, it says, it's essential to go easy on fatty fruits. I never eat more than half an avocado per day. That's what Glenn says. I try to avoid it, again, because I have a propensity of weight gain, but I do eat it sometimes. I rarely touch coconut. For reasons that surpass my understanding, coconut was designed by nature as the cheeseburger of fruits, widely high in saturated fat. If you are salt sensitive, or have high blood pressure, you will want to choose foods that are low in sodium. I personally don't concern myself much with sodium since my blood pressure is fine, but I might check any given packaged food to make sure that the sodium content in milligrams per serving does not exceed by much the number of calories per serving. So, and here comes a very confusing thing about labels. On the right side of the nutritional label, you will find a column that says percentage daily value. And Glenn says, ignore it. And I say, ignore it, okay, since it really is meaningless. For example, think about this. One hamburger would provide you with 12 grams of saturated fat, which will be labeled as 60% of your daily value. That means that the daily value of saturated fat is apparently a mind-blowing and heart-stopping 20 grams per day. That's about 1,000% of my daily intake, Glenn says. It's about the same for me. A hamburger will also provide you with 100 milligrams of cholesterol, or 33% of your daily value of cholesterol. That makes it sound like you need dietary cholesterol, and so you should eat a couple of more burgers per day, even though even your doctor will tell you, if it's an honest doctor, that we make all the cholesterol that our bodies need. Some of us make more, some of us make less. So, of course, as almost no one will dispute, the optimum amount of dietary cholesterol is 0. Okay? There's no good definition for daily value, but the closest thing would be daily average of the overweight population eating the fatty Western diet. That's what it should say. So why does the percentage daily value column even exist? Undoubtedly, because the animal agriculture industry lobbied the FDA for a confusing metric that would make cholesterol and saturated fat appear to be required nutrients. Those are your tax dollars at work, that says Glenn. And then he describes this very interesting and funny but sad, story about when he was a child and went to an IHOP to have breakfast and what happened there. So if we have a few minutes, I would like Glenn to come on and tell us that story. Okay, so in page 106, the taste for fat rivals the addiction to sugar as a source of ruin to human health. And so, during your transition week, stay clear of nuts, nut butter, seeds, avocados, olives, coconut, and of course, anything containing oil. Avoid fatty sauces. Make sure, for example, not to put on your salads any dressing that contains any fat. If you need a dressing on your salad, squeeze a lemon or drizzle some vinegar. Eat pure, low-fat foods, brown rice, steamed veggies, legumes, fruits, potatoes, sweet potatoes, etc. After a week of clean eating, your taste buds should adjust to the point that you will recoil from the mere thought of adding sugar to your oatmeal. But feel free to add fruit to your oatmeal. Your newly clean palate will really appreciate the natural sweetness. You will find that after eating like a monk for a week, your taste buds will have adjusted, and just that little bit of tahini will suffice. Stay in the habit of minimizing your use of fatty foods. Your healthiest source of fat will be flax seeds, rich in omega-3s. When Joanna and I make smoothies, we make sure to add flax seeds, and you can add them to your oatmeal for breakfast. Think of a healthy diet as containing two components. And I thought this was another wonderful, wonderful explanation. Think of a diet, a healthy diet, having two things: fuel and fortification. So he's using the word fortifications in the sense of defense against disease, not in the sense of the artificial enrichment of foods with vitamins and minerals. Choosing healthy fuel from which you will obtain most of your calories is of paramount importance, since it's going to replace the unhealthy reliance on animal foods as a source of energy. That's why you will need to base your diet around rice, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans, lentils, millets, buckwheat, and other whole grains. These ideal fuel foods will all terrifically, which, they're all terrifically health promoting, do not boast the same degree of nutritional density as the foods that will provide you with your greatest fortification against disease: leafy greens, non-starchy vegetables, mushrooms, non-fatty fruits, and herbs and spices. These are the foods that are your best defense against cancer and other diseases. These are the foods that you can eat in great abundance if you choose, but they are not calorically dense. They are, in Chef AJ's imagery, way to the left of the red line, which is good. I will send an invitation here to Glenn, and we will close today's session with him as a guest here. And I'd like to ask Glenn to tell us the story of the restaurant, and also to clarify a little more what he means by the two components: fuel and fortification. And then we will close for today. And I see that he is here. So Glenn, I'm sorry today I got carried away reading this chapter, but
this is one of my favorite shows on television.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. So I'm going to read it again and again. So can you tell us in your own words the story of your pancakes at the restaurant?
I can try, but I may begin to cry.
Okay. Don't cry.
I was a few years old, and my parents took my sister, who was 6 years older than me, to I think it was probably the International House of Pancakes, or some pancake place or diner. And I ordered some delicious blueberry pancakes. And I took that maple syrup container, which at the time was probably about the size of my head, and I poured just a drop of maple syrup on the side of the plate so that I can have just a little taste of that sweetness from the delicious maple syrup. And a couple who's strangers, we didn't know them, they came over and they started a conversation with my parents. Maybe they were talking about their adorable children. I don't know. They started a conversation with my parents, and then suddenly the woman said, "Oh, little boy, that's not enough maple syrup. Your pancakes will be too dry." And she drowned my pancakes in maple syrup. And so I started to cry. Even now, it's hard for me to hold back the tears. But I started to cry. She ruined my breakfast. Her husband started yelling at her, "Why did you do that?" And he ordered me a new batch of pancakes. But that was my last time at an International House of Pancakes. So the point is, though, that if you're going to have maple syrup, have a little drop of it. If you're going to put tahini on bread or a cracker or something, put a little drop. The foods that are sweet and the foods that are fatty, be careful with them, and then if I put a drop of tahini on a slice of whole wheat bread, that's all I need. I taste the tahini. I don't have to lather it on. And if I occasionally have vegan pancakes and occasionally decide to have maple syrup, it's just a drop. That'll do it. So I seem to have known that instinctively when I was 3. But when you lather on rich foods, fatty foods or sweet foods, that's when you get in trouble. You have to respect them and use them judiciously.
Glenn, could you, for I guess the last thing, I mean, I would like to spend another session on this chapter, but we won't be able to. But can you explain in your own words the two components that you talk about in a healthy diet, the fuel and then the fortification component?
Right. Well, you need to get the bulk of your calories from satiating foods. As you were talking about before, Gustavo, if someone tries to fill themselves up on salad greens, they'll have to buy a ridiculous amount of salad greens. It would cost a lot of money, and they'd be eating all day long. You can't fill yourself up on salad greens. It's very healthy to eat salad greens. Eat them every day. But you can't rely on that to feel full, to feel satiated. So to feel full and satiated, as Dr. McDougall will tell you, as AJ will tell you, as Gustavo will tell you, you need to eat foods that are starches, healthy starches. Beans, lentils, legumes, potatoes, sweet potatoes, whole grain. These are the foods that you have to base your diet around. So that's your fuel. That's what's giving you the calories to burn. And it has other benefits beyond that. I don't want to say that it's only fuel. But for the most part, think of it as fuel. That's what you need. You want to have, let's say, some buckwheat for breakfast and maybe some beans and potatoes later on in the day, and you want to have oatmeal sometimes, things like that are going to fill you up. But then the foods that keep you from getting cancer, that have all kinds of health benefits, are going to be the greens, the fruits, the mushrooms, the spices. Spices are very healthy. And nobody gets fat on cinnamon, but it has a lot of health benefits. So all the spices, ginger, garlic, onions, vegetables like the cruciferous vegetables. So these are the foods that you eat to keep yourself as safe as possible from disease. So that's what I call the fortification foods. To fortify your immune system, keep you from getting diseases. So you combine the fuel with the fortification at as many meals as you can. So you have, let's say, beans and rice with some onions and tomatoes and spices and whatever. So the beans and the rice are your fuel. All those extra things, the parsley and what have you that you put on it, that's your fortification.
Yeah. I guess in the back of my mind, I knew that. I just never seen it explained like that, and that is very clear. So you have to have food that will give you the energy that you need every day, and that is your starches. And then, like you said, the greens, especially like Dr. Esselstyn talks about, the greens have components that really can revert the damage that we have or people have inside the arteries. They're that powerful, or for cancer or for diabetes. So it's a combination. I always try. I'm not going to say that 100% of the time, but 90%, 80%, to have something green with every meal, because I've heard Dr. Esselstyn talk about that, and that's one of those things that just stays in your mind. So yeah. Do you have anything else would you like to share or say And I just want to underline this, that this is not the last book club. In April, we'll be back. It won't be on Saturdays. It will probably be on Wednesday evenings, or maybe on another day. But guys, we will continue with the book club. It's just that in March I'm not taking it off because I'll probably work harder, but I'm taking off from the book club. But we will be back. Glenn, anything that maybe I forgot to highlight or mention, or anything you want to say?
No, I don't. I mean, I've naturally enjoyed this very much, and I must say that I would love to clone you, Gustavo, and have lots of other online book clubs. I've decided to write another book just to have another online book club review.
Oh.
Good. I'm going to put in the chat box to remind your viewers, and this offer is good perpetually. So even if you're seeing this video a year from now, the offer is still good. There's a bonus offer. You send me proof of purchase of the book. I send Chef AJ's double layer vanilla carrot cake recipe, a video of Chef AJ making that recipe, and a PDF of 25 of Joanna's recipes. And also, if you go to my website and look at my audiobooks, all my audiobooks, except for Own Your Health, I can give you a coupon code for a free book, as long as those coupons hold out. So I'll put it in the chat box, and I want to thank everyone for listening, and feel free to contact me for the bonus offers and the audiobooks.
All right. Well, thank you, Glenn. And someone is asking me about the pasta sauce. Yes, not today, but I will share it, because today I was making it, and filming something takes, guys, you don't know how much time it takes to prepare it, to film it, then to watch it again, then to edit it, then to put it up. Okay, so, but that is coming up in one of my Cooking Live with Gustavo shows. I'll let you know. And I don't have anything else to say at this moment. And I will see all of you guys. Bring in guests, invite people for next Saturday. It will be our last session for this book club, but we will continue in April. And we will have Chef AJ as a guest. And all right. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful end of this weekend, and I will see you next Saturday. And thank you, Glenn,
thank you, Gustavo,
for always being willing to join me here.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next week.